So this is a special video I wanted to make. I know that a lot of you guys are more interested in the Idaho 4. That's fine, but you really should watch this as well, because some of these tweets made by Luigi Mangione are very interesting, is all I'm gonna say. I want to share them with you guys. Maybe you have already read them, maybe you already saw them. I know that there are a lot of memes being shared, so I want to share them with you because I want your input. I want you to tell me if these are posts that were made by Luigi that were indicating that he was going to do something like he's accused of doing, aka shooting United CEO guy in the back, right? Or if these are being taken out of context. We know that it's very easy to do that, right? So I first wanted to start with a review, right? He left a Goodreads review on the book written by Theodore John Kaczynski, and if you don't know who that is, then you might want to go Google it, because he was a little bit out there, right? He was a little bit out there, and the title of the book is Industrial Society and Its Future. So Luigi gave this book 4 stars out of 5, and he said, clearly written by a mathematics prodigy, reads like a series of lemmas on the question of 21st century quality of life. It's easy to quickly and thoughtless write this off as a manifesto of a lunatic in order to avoid facing some of the uncomfortable problems it identifies, but it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of his predictions about modern society turned out. Now, look, if you have not read this book yourself, then I don't really want to hear your opinion, right? Because it's one thing to judge one of Ted Kaczynski's actions, right? You can say what he did was horrible, but if you have read this book like front to back, back to front, you get a better view, I think, of what Luigi is trying to say. He's obviously read the book fully, and he's saying, look, you can tell that this book was written by an intelligent person, and although Ted Kaczynski did horrible things, he does point out world problems, real world issues that should be tackled. Maybe not tackling them in the way that Kaczynski did, but in my opinion, a lot of people have gotten crazy about Luigi Mangione, not in a good way. They're saying, look, he obviously has a plan. He wanted to do this. He is like Ted Kaczynski. In fact, Ted Kaczynski's brother came forward and was like, oh my God, I think Luigi was influenced by my brother. Like, I think he was very easily brainwashed. He probably read the book, and now he's trying to be like good old Ted, like my brother, and it's a problem. But as somebody who's been to a lot of universities, guys, and have a pile of useless degrees, basically, I'm going to tell you something. This, to me, just sounds like it's going in that direction of banning things, right? We love banning things in our country. We like banning things, and that includes books. And as somebody who also tutors children who are high IQ and neurodivergent, I think it's important to allow people, especially adults, like Luigi Mangione was an adult, right? Allow people to have access to whatever book they want to read, even if it was written by a lunatic, right? Or do you really think that we need to be babied and told not to read a book because we'll be influenced by it? Like, who are you to tell me what's going to influence me? Like, don't. I'm not a fan of when the government steps in and tries to tell you what to do, you or me or anyone else. That's just me. I know a lot of people like to not use a brain cell, and they like being told what to do. If you're one of those people, I mean, I also understand, right? So let me know, what do you think about this review left in Goodreads by Luigi? Do you think that this makes him cuckoo? Do you think that just because he read a book, now he's all of a sudden evil and Kaczynski's brother's right, you know, he was easily brainwashed by this book and influenced, and now he's trying to be like Ted. I don't think so. I think, if anything, when I went to several universities, a lot of these books we had to read. Like, we had to read them. And then we had to write essays, right? Without AI, like kids these days do. You know, they're using artificial intelligence, so they don't have to use actual intelligence to write papers. We read these types of books in English class or history, and then we wrote our opinion on the book. And that's, I think, what Luigi was doing, right? Now, on this review, on this article, I see that people have said that Luigi also praised Kaczynski as a political revolutionary, but I'm not actually seeing that in the review. So again, where are they pulling that out of? Because it looks like they're just pulling it out of their ass, because it's not in this review, right? So that was just one of the book reviews. I'm actually opening up X here, previously known as Twitter. I don't actually have one, so I'm just scrolling through here to find some of the interesting things he said. And again, as we're going through these, guys, feel free to let me know in the chat. Do you think that this is a guy who knows what he's talking about? Do you think he's demented and enraged and angry and trying to be like Ted? And remember, on X, people are leaving like very short phrases, very short comments, right? So it's hard to really get a feel for what type of person this is. That being said, we all like to jump to conclusions, right? So this one was very interesting to me. He tweeted this on January 24th. He said, PORN should be regulated no less than alcohol, cigarettes, and travel. Interesting. Well, some studies do show that PORN is actually more detrimental to the brain than alcohol and cigarettes. So this quote I love. And this is him asking, this is Luigi asking, what are your thoughts on this quote from J. Krishnamurti? It is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And he was asking that question to somebody, and that person responded with, those who feel strong aversion to adjusting to a maladjusted society are deemed mentally ill, alcoholics, substance abusers, or slackers. They're corralled into 12-step groups or mental hospitals, or placed on medication, or even just shunned, all in the attempt to make them conform and fit, when what really needs to change is the society itself. Just as gun legislation will not end the senseless mass shootings, because what we really need to do is stop generating psychopaths as a culture. Wow, what do you know? What do you know? That response was not made by Luigi. That was a response made by Neil Harrigan. The question had been asked by Luigi, but I actually agree so much with that response by Neil, because it's so true, right? And as somebody who has worked in mental health facilities, right, that's extremely true and unfortunate, that if you are not the standard, right? And I'm going to tell you something, I am not the standard, right? I may be like, my looks are relatively, you know, sure, they fit societal expectations, but my mind doesn't, guys. I'm neurodivergent. I'm a female with high IQ. I work like 3 jobs. People don't like that, right? I have ADD, so I'm all over the place. I've been accused of using illegal substances, this and that. And when you don't fit that mold, people don't like you. People will shun you. Okay, it is what it is. I personally don't care, because I'm an old lady. You know, I'm mid-40s. I've learned that it doesn't matter. If society doesn't like me, that's okay. My family, my very close friends and loved ones, they like me. But it's such an important question. The fact that Luigi Mangione, was asking this at such a young age, relatively young, mid-20s, to be asking about this quote, "It is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." He's asking the questions that matter, that people don't want to address. And the person who responded is also very aware, right? It's so true. We like to ban things. We like to ban weapons, for example, or substances or whatever. But we don't like to talk about the deeper issues. What is causing these this culture to generate these psychopaths, right? So I think this is a smart guy. Luigi's a smart guy. He's at least aware from his post that he's making on X on what he's going in. And on top of that, we know that he's intelligent, right? He gives high IQ vibes. Not only that, but he was valedictorian. And when his classmates were asked about Luigi, they're like, he was very unassuming, he was very friendly, he was very outgoing. We didn't even know he was that smart because he doesn't look that smart, but they're like, they said they didn't even know he was smart until he went up there to get his valedictorian award, some of them. So that's great. That's a great way to be, I think. I love this one as well. On X, posted by Luigi Mangione on April 30th. He is quoting a quote, right? From the Brave New World. And it says, "But I don't want comfort. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom. I want goodness. I want sin." And if you guys have not read this, you need to read this, right? So this was taken out of a larger, quote, basically book. And it's the controller saying, the savage in the Brave New World is saying, "But I like inconveniences." And then the controller says, "We don't. We prefer to do things comfortably." Then the savage says, "But I don't want comfort. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom. I want goodness. I want sin." And then the controller says, "In fact, you're claiming the right to be unhappy." And then the savage defiantly says, "All right, then, I'm claiming the right to be unhappy." And then the controller says, "Not to mention the right to grow old and ugly and impotent, the right to have syphilis and cancer, the right to have too little to eat, the right to be lousy, the right to live in constant apprehension of what may happen tomorrow, the right to catch typhoid, the right to be tortured by unspeakable pains of every kind." There was a long silence. And then, "I claim them all," said the savage at last. Mustafa Mond shrugged his shoulders. "You're welcome," he said. So what does this mean, right? If you guys have not read this, it's going to be a little bit confusing. This is talking about, in my opinion, the wanting to be human, wanting to be free, not wanting to be controlled by your government, your politicians, because you want comfort, right? And that's where it's getting to, right? And I know that a lot of you guys don't like when I talk about politics. You're like, "You're not politically inclined. You should be talking about true crime," but this is my channel, so I do what I want. And that's what this is about, right? When we choose to not have people controlling us, government, politicians, we might have more risk, right? But with that risk also comes good things. It comes freedom, the ability to, yes, be sick, yes, be happy, yes, have all your emotions that you may experience when you're not dependent on a government for your health or your safekeeping or whatever else, right? So the fact that he is taking out of that huge chunk that I just read, he's taking that little phrase about not wanting comfort, but instead wanting God and poetry and real danger and freedom. It's like, do most people not want that? I'm sorry, but I thought we all wanted that, right? But there are a few people out there, a lot of people out there, unfortunately, who don't want that. They're like, "Oh my God, let's keep our kids in like a little box. Like, let's not let them go anywhere," right? Or let's keep our citizens in a little box. They don't know how to think for themselves. They don't know how to think for themselves. We'll do the thinking for them, right? Right? But then what happens? They think you're too stupid, that I'm too stupid to think for ourselves. In fact, there was a clear cut. Like this was so obvious when Luigi Mangione was arrested. You know what was going on behind the scenes? People did not want to publish his manifesto. Manifesto. I'm like, bro, it was like a paragraph. First of all, why are we calling it a manifesto? But politicians, government, we know they own the media, and nobody had the courage to come forward and actually publish the manifesto. Nobody had the courage. Except Ken Klippenstein, right? You know why they didn't want to publish the manifesto? Ken Klippenstein said this when he was finally, I think yesterday, he was interviewed out of Madison, Wisconsin. And he's like, yeah, they were actually all passing around the manifesto in between themselves, CEOs, people in the media. They were passing it around, but they're like, yeah, we shouldn't publish it because your average American is too stupid to understand this. So, you know, they might get ideas from this manifesto. We don't want them to look into healthcare. But they were able to read it for themselves, right? They were able to share that information, but not for us peasants. So that tells me that Luigi is a person who wants his freedom, who wants goodness, who wants maybe less government control of the people. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it. Maybe I'm projecting a little bit, but that's what I'm getting out of that. Scrolling, he's got lots of tweets. This is also very interesting, right? I think he also is a man who has self-awareness, right? And again, this is not me promoting what he did because I don't want to do that. But we know that he's intelligent, probably has high IQ. He's a valedictorian. He's a smart guy, right? But he is smart enough also to realize his flaws. I think people sometimes who are too smart, they can become, they're either excessively like cocky, or you get so smart that you're like, man, everything I do is not good enough, right? But this is what he's saying. Being smart makes you more prone to confirmation bias. In retrospect, it shouldn't have been surprising. Confirmation bias is what happens when the little lawyer in your head takes control of your thinking process, and smart people have very smart little lawyer in there. So to me, this is Luigi accepting his flaws. He's saying, okay, yeah, I'm smart, but I also, looking at it now, you know, confirmation bias. So he's aware of his flaws, and that's a good thing as well. This one, you let me know what you think, right? This tweet, because when I first read this, I'm like, okay, this is a guy who really wants to like etch his place in history, right? I personally don't want to etch a place in history. I know a lot of us have been like brainwashed, like, especially men, it feels like you have to leave like something behind. Like, no, you don't have to leave anything behind. We're going to be okay without you, babe. That being said, I think when you are alive, you should try to do something beneficial for your community, right? At the very least. Doesn't mean you have to leave something behind or etch a place in history, but this is what Luigi Mangione said. It's 3 parts. Part 1. I used to get bumped in math class when learning theorems. All the low-hanging fruit has been solved before I was born. If I was alive at the time of Pythagoras, I could have easily derived the Pythagorean theorem and etched my place in history. So he's like, man, all the easy stuff has already been done. Like, could have easily come up with a math formula like That's easy, right? It is. It is easy. And then you're like known for your entire life. Like you carved your place out in history for this math formula. Um, but then he goes on to say, but now I feel lucky for my 21st century education. I get to simply download the knowledge of all who came before me, allowing me to stand on their shoulders and ponder new problems they never would have had access to. And we sure do have a lot of new problems, don't we? And part 3 says, in 5th century BC, Pythagoras discovered algebraic theorems. In 19th century, Darwin discovered the evolution of species. Then what topics does 21st century mind explore? I would say evolutionary psychology, primitive neuroscience, and information networks. And he is on the money, guys. That's exactly what we are focusing on now, right? We know, if you know anything about information networks, not only computer information networks, but neural information networks as well, primitive neuroscience, and anything having to do with psychology, especially evolutionary psychology, it is huge. So he was saying in the first one that he wants, he could have carved a place out in history, but now he's saying, you know what? It's not going to be that easy because we have so many problems, 21st century real world problems that we could work on, right? So it sounds like, again, a young man who's trying to make a difference. Ooh, I forgot about the chat. I feel like I'm talking to myself here half the time. Let's see. You guys here? Oh, there's 12 of you here. I'm surprised there's people in here. I know a lot of you guys, again, you don't want to hear about Luigi. You're promoting him as a criminal. No, it's not what we're doing. We don't even know if this is the right guy, right? Go watch yesterday's live. A lot of weird stuff going on. A lot of pictures of people that look like the Luigi, and they have different backpacks, slightly different coats, different skin tones, different shoes. What the fuck is going on? Is this another Idaho 4? Is this the right guy? Can we actually trust the police? Hi, Kelly. Hi, Chantal. Hi, Ashley. Hi, ALW. Hi, Truth Seeker. Chantal says, long time no see. I know, right? He was unassuming and smart. Yes, he was. And that's the best way to be. Honestly, I tell a lot of the high IQ neurodivergent kids that I work with, like, because these kids have like Mensa high IQ, right? Sometimes it's better to be unassuming, like, or play dumb, or have like sometimes their dyslexia or dyscalculia helps them kind of hide their their high IQ. And that's a good thing, because when people know that you have high IQ, they have such high expectations of you. Like, then why aren't you the next Bill Gates? Bitch, maybe I just want a YouTube. Right? And talk about the truth. Like, so I always tell people, if you have high IQ, play dumb sometimes. Unfortunately, you have to do that for your protection. Be unassuming. Be like Luigi. The right to be lousy. I like that. Yes, most of us read Brave New World in 8th grade. Exactly. Great book. I am curious, though, did some of you have to read the book by Ted Kaczynski? And if you have read it, I've read parts of it. I'm not going to lie, I haven't read the entire thing. Or it's been a long time. I don't remember. But there are some good points in there, right? And I'm saying that to be honest, because Ted was very blunt about our world problems. This is not me saying that, yeah, go do whatever you did, go be Ted. No, that's not what I'm saying. So I can see why this smart guy rating this book that he probably had to read for school, like, now people are like, oh my God, he is evil. He's evil. Truth Seeker says, I homeschooled for that reason. Unfortunately, at 26, we don't have the experience and perspective to make wise decisions. That's true also. Yes, I'm a fan of homeschooling, right? I think I know not everyone can homeschool. Most people cannot homeschool, because a lot of people have to, you know, mom and dad has to work, and not everybody has that opportunity. But if you can have that opportunity, even if it means like taking less vacations, like out of the country, or buying less things that are just going to sit around in your house, like do that. Because if you can actually homeschool your children, they just end up smarter, right? They end up learning way less junk school, science, math. And if you're a good teacher, they can learn so much more rapidly, right? Some of the children that I've homeschooled myself are like 2 to 3 years advanced, right? So they're like second graders doing 5th grade math, or vice versa. And not all of them, guys, not all of them have high IQ. Because I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, it's because they have high IQ, you know, like 130, 140. Some of them, yeah, some of them, no. A lot of time that is spent in school is spent... What do kids do in school? Have you guys been to a school lately? I'm not bashing all public schools, because they're not all horrible, but most of them are. Let's get back to the tweets here. Finally, be excited for what the future holds for us. He tweeted this on December 8th, 2022. We may have been born into one of the most exciting times on earth, regardless of the singularity. We might not recognize it on our day-to-day lives, but the world is changing fast. This was tweeted on April 25th, I'm assuming of this year, right? Because it doesn't show the year. When the population gets dumber, these systems break down, which in turn means the population decreases. I see no logical reason why this follows. You underestimate the power of how a few intelligent people plus robust systems can keep all the idiots afloat. That's amazing. That's amazing. It's true. It's true, right? And we know that as a population, guys, our IQ statistically has dropped as a country. That's not a good place to be. The fact that I have to live with the fact that many of, you know, my or your children are dumber than us, like, that's not a good trend, right? That things are going down. They're spiraling down. And yeah, of course, you're going to have population decreases with dumber people. Right? Because the smart people don't want to reproduce. They don't want to. This one was very telling, I think. He tweeted this on December 8th, 2021. When I first became agnostic, I was almost anti-religion. Thought religious people were wasting precious time trapped in a delusion, but now I see no problem with it if they aren't pushing their beliefs and it helps them cope with death, etc. I'm kind of jealous, actually. And that really stood out to me, because there were several interviews stating that his family, his mother and father, were at church when Luigi got arrested. So we know that they are churchgoers, and according to this tweet back in 2021, Luigi is agnostic, right? He decided to become agnostic. So is that maybe another reason why he was not close with the family since summer of this year? And if you're an Italian family member, Italian family, for a lot of my Italian friends, religion is huge, right? It's you have to be religious. You have to go to church. And if you don't, you're probably gonna piss some family members off. So did he piss some family members off? This one was tweeted April 24. of this year. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy? Yes, I have actually. It predicts the opposite of what you suggest, the overall dumbing down of humanity. Let's see. With the entire bell curve shifting left due to reproductive dynamics. It's obviously satire, but I've always worried that that's the direction we are heading. Have you guys actually watched that movie, Idiocracy? It's basically all the smart people not having children, and all the dumb people having all the children because they are unaware of how shitty everything is, right? And if you agree with that, let me know. I know that's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that. I'm not going to say anything about that. But statistically speaking, women who have higher IQs tend to have less children or no children. And men that have high IQs tend to have more children. Interesting, right? Do you guys think that that movie, Idiocracy, is going to become a reality? Weren't they like watering the grass with Gatorade? Another tweet, January 2024, drug abuse isn't fair criteria. In my opinion, the most intelligent, open-minded individuals I know all manipulate and push the buttons of their psyche via specific drugs. Drug abuse should distinguish psilocybin, MJ, and addictive soul suckers like meth and fentanyl, etc. Do you guys think that there's a difference between all of those? Or is it all just drugs? This is a great quote that he shared back in June 8th, 2021. Do not fear to be eccentric in opinion, for every opinion now accepted was once eccentric. Cool. That's a great quote. By Mr. Russell, of course. And he has a lot of random tweets with just numbers that he posted when he was new to Twitter on April 2016. Ooh. Tweet from April 1st. Maybe because there's overlap in these problems, fixing society versus fixing the self, e.g., observing how smartphones negatively impact on a societal level, helps me understand how mine impacts me on a personal level, plus how I can fix my own use. So what I'm getting at is that to me, he just sounds very self-aware for a 26-year-old. Like, I did not have this self-awareness when I was 26. I for sure did not. But if we're screening soldiers, maybe we don't want free thinkers, so drug abuse should remain vague as to capture both maverick thinkers and dopamine junkies. Actually, I don't agree with that, because when I was in the military active duty and you're getting ready to join, you have to do this process and they ask you, like, if you used anything, what did you use and how many times did you use it? So they're actually very specific. And from what I have seen, if you used MJ or like LSD like a couple times, they're like, okay, we'll let you in. But if you use like something harder, like he said, meth or fentanyl, yeah, good luck getting in. I've never heard of anyone that's gone in using those things. Unless they were forced to do time in the military because they chose that over jail, right? That 23% eligibility is initially scary, but remember, we do want a population of diverse thinkers, not a factory line of identical soldier drones. What remains concerning is that such a massive percentage of men fail physical standards, which in no context is advantageous to the group. So yeah, only guys, and then actually that percentage of eligibility, I think, has dropped a lot. He's talking about only 23% of people actually make it or are eligible to join the military, right? But yeah, that's low. That's less than 1 in 4. And then on top of that, you still have to pass like your physical fitness test, which is not, it's not easy for most Americans, right? We know most Americans are overweight, obese. There's a lot of morbid obesity as well, a lot of health issues. So yeah, I agree with Luigi. The fact that so many men and women also cannot pass the physical standards is very concerning. And I'm not talking about 40, 50-year-olds that can't pass. I'm talking about 18 to 25-year-olds. Like, you should be able to pass that physical test, right? When we have such a massive amount of young men and women failing these very basic physical standards, guys, like running a mile and a half, doing a few push-ups, sit-ups, swimming a lap, that should be something that most people can do, okay? You shouldn't have to be like a soldier to be able to do that. These are just the basics, right? Basic training, basic physical exam. So yeah, we have a problem. And he's saying that's not advantageous to anyone in the group, right? In our country. So totally right about that. We need to fix that as well. On the Bones drones, I told you guys my thoughts. I'll share my thoughts. I told you guys my thoughts yesterday, right? As somebody who was in the military, the drones are military, right? Stop buying into the lies, into the conspiracy theories that these are from another country. Stop buying into the lies that these are aliens. They're drones and they are ours. If not, we would be shooting them out of our airspace, right? There was a soldier who was talking about these drones. He says he's a sky soldier. And he said, yeah, these drones, they don't really pose a threat to the public. They are from the company, what is the company called? Robotics, something Robust Robotics, I think. I'll give you guys a name later if you want. And they're working with the military, right? We always implement new technology in the military, and we don't go out and tell the world. We don't even tell our citizens what we do when we're doing this new testing. It's what the military does and has always done. It's nothing new. It's just new, maybe a newer technology. So of course, people always lose their minds when there's new technology, right? He says, he tweets on January 24th, evolutionary mismatch of Homo sapiens and its 21st century living environment is unfathomably immense. Is it surprising to see so few well-adjusted individuals? So this guy's like, he's thinking about the world. He's thinking about problems, like world problems. Why are we seeing, so few well-adjusted individuals? Why do we have so many young men who can't pass physical exams? Like, this stuff that most 26-year-olds don't ask themselves. So I just wanted to show you guys that, hang out with you for a little bit more, but I'm gonna go. I'm getting hungry. I need to go eat some food. So let me know what you thought about these Luigi Mangione tweets. If you guys have been keeping track on what's going on. I think his family came forward and said that they are family. We know that they hadn't really talked, right? They hadn't said anything about Luigi. And now they're coming forward. They're saying, well, we're with him. Our thoughts and prayers are with him, and we love him. That being said, a lot of people have done some tracing of the family roots of Luigi Mangione, and they're saying that he has some dark people in his circle, right? He's very closely tied. Well, his family is very closely tied with wealth, power, prominence, philanthropy, especially within the Italian community of Baltimore. So they're a very respected family in the area. And they were a family that originally came from Sicily, but people are trying to make it sound like this guy has like mafioso blood, You know, I don't know if he does. I don't think it's been proven yet, but just interesting to see how people like to change stories. Either way, let me know in the comments. Do you think that Luigi, these posts are demented, that he was mentally ill, or do you think he's just a smart guy who thinks about the world? Do you think he was actually praising Kaczynski in that post, or do you think he was just praising the book and pointing out that, look, although this guy was psycho, there are some good points that he made in the book, right? It seems like he's able to analyze a book without getting all emotional, right? He's setting aside the fact that Ted Kaczynski did horrible things and still being able to think about, okay, besides that, are there any good points in this book? So I'm curious to know what you guys thought about all these tweets. Let me know. I'm going to go eat, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Take care. Bye-bye.